Maryland football gets its first portal pickup of the cycle.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by the college football playoffs. The college football playoffs is here, and you don't want to miss a moment on the action. The college football playoff presented by Allstate begins with 4 first-round games December 20th and 21st on ESPN, ABC, TNT, and Max. I'm also doing work at InsideBlackandGold.net, so make sure you guys head over to InsideBlackandGold.net for all your latest Terps news. So Maryland lands its first portal pickup so far in this transfer portal cycle, and they get receiver Kaleb Webb, who I think has the potential to really help the Terps, but this is certainly not enough, and the Terps still need a lot more, and I'll make sure to get into it all. So I didn't know much about this kid. I had to research about this Kaleb Webb kid, and here's what the looks of it is. He went to Tennessee, didn't have a huge role at Tennessee. I guess just couldn't really figure out his spot in the program, just couldn't ever live up to how he was as a recruit and kind of how a lot of people thought he was going to be in his talent overall. But he's still relatively young, still has some time to figure things out as a player. Was a 2022, but still has a couple years of eligibility remaining overall. But I do think he still has a high ceiling as a player, and there's a reason why Coach Loxley and the staff wanted to get this kid, and I just think he hasn't been able to prove it at Tennessee, and you wonder why he hasn't been able to prove it. I'm going to be honest, he hasn't played a lot, hasn't put up a ton of stats at Tennessee, so you start to wonder, why is that the case? Why hasn't he been able to do much? Clearly, there has been some type of issue with him getting on the field and him playing a lot. When you look at his stats, he's really only played in big blowout wins. Like, he had 2 receptions, 17 yards against Kent State when they were up 71-0. NC State, when they absolutely crushed them, he had a reception. And then in Duke's Mayo Bowl last year, he had 2 receptions for 19 yards. But other than that, this isn't a kid that has played a lot. And so it's an interesting type of pickup for Mike Loxley and the staff, but they clearly see some potential in him and what he can become. And I think that he's a big pickup. I do think he has all the talent in the world to become something good, but he hasn't done it at Tennessee. So I still think that I'm hesitant to call him like a big win. Like, sometimes we get, like, when we got Caden Prather in a transfer portal, it felt like a really big win. It felt like something that was really going to help us in our receiving core. This doesn't feel like one of those pickups. This feels like a guy that has a high ceiling as a player, has talent, but we just haven't seen it. In 2023, he had 16 receptions for 166 yards, so got on the field a little bit, was able to make some type of impact. And then probably Tennessee fans expecting a jump in 2024 just didn't happen. He only maintained 6 receptions for 48 yards. And so he just didn't do that much this year. So it definitely makes sense that he's transferring. Actually, originally he was supposed to transfer to Wake Forest, but then I don't know if you guys are familiar with what's going on at Wake Forest right now, but their head coach stepped down, and then he flipped, decided that he didn't want to go to Wake Forest anymore, which makes sense. If a head coach steps down, you probably want to switch your commitment. Maybe you probably don't feel the same way about the program, and the coach that recruited you there is not there anymore. So he was actually originally supposed to transfer to Wake Forest next year, but instead it is now Maryland. And this wasn't a guy that really anybody was talking about. Like, I'm usually going through when someone is like on Inside Black and Gold. They do a really good job. Again, I'm doing work over there, so make sure you guys check out their website. But I check out Inside Black and Gold's Twitter, and they usually put out who's visiting, who Maryland has offered on their Twitter, and so you get a pretty good idea of who they're interested in. And this was one that we just didn't really see much about. So it's definitely a little bit under the radar. And maybe it was just unexpected. Maybe they went after him originally, but then he committed to Wake Forest pretty quick. But then when they realized that he was going to decommit from Wake Forest, then Maryland jumped back in. But I do expect this guy to have an impact in our receiver room next year. First of all, him as a talent, he's 6'3", 204, probably a little bit heavier now, maybe closer to 215 now. So he's got the size and everything to be a top level type of receiver. He's got the traits. He was a really fast sprinter. He was a state qualifier in the 100-meter dash as a junior after winning Region 2 AAA, and was also a member of his 4x100 team that won a state title. So he's clearly got some speed on him. He's got track speed, and he looks like he can do some of those things in terms of his speed. But I think his size is going to be a big thing. I think a big appeal was him being able to make contested catches out of high school, and him as a red zone threat, and combining that size and that speed. That makes a pretty good combination. So you definitely have someone that came in really talented. And then we also got to talk about him coming out of high school and him as a recruit. He was ranked as a top 200 recruit. Specifically, he was ranked 199th, ranked nationally on 247, ranked as the 35th best receiver in his class and the 22nd best player in Georgia. So he's a top 200 recruit coming out of college. And that's why I say he has the talent. He has a lot of the physical stuff. I don't really know what's limiting him, why he hasn't played at Tennessee, because I'm not a Tennessee fan. I'm not a Tennessee expert. I don't know everything about what's going on over there at that program, but I do know that he's a talented type of guy, and I think this could really help. Maryland could be a place where he could come out. And I honestly believe that. I think Maryland's a place where he might be able to be in a role that he just didn't get to be in at Tennessee. They have some talented dudes over there at receiver, and they're in the college football playoff for a reason. They have some talent at Tennessee. So the fact that we get a chance to see this kid maybe flourish in a new program where it's a little bit, we don't have quite the talent that Tennessee has probably, and definitely not right now with them being in the college football playoff and us feeling like we're losing just about everybody on our team. This is a chance for him to come in and potentially be a top 3 or 4 receiver. And let me tell you, it's wide open. I have no idea what our receiver room is going to look like next year. This guy could come in and be one of our starters, to be completely honest. I just don't know. I'm guessing he has a pretty good chance at doing it. I just think he hasn't gotten to show it at Tennessee. And I think he's a guy that the portal made a lot of sense for him. He definitely needed to switch up. He definitely needed a different spot to go. And I think he works. I think he's kind of works with what we have right now. I feel like Octavian Smiths are smaller. He's really explosive, really dynamic type of athlete, but he's a smaller, more of a slot to me. Some of that can play the inside. And then I feel like Kaleb Webb, he can work on the outside and at the X receiver and hopefully get open there and really be beneficial to right now, I guess, Malik Washington and him as a freshman. Hopefully that's a guy that sometimes you can bail you out. You can just throw him a 50-50 ball. And then I think with Shalik Knott's potentially on the outside and then Ryan Manning getting some run, I think those are different portfolios of players that kind of work together. But the thing is, I don't see an alpha in that room. I think it was going to be hard, really hard for us to add somebody that was an alpha, that was a top-end player this year because we don't have a proven quarterback. I think a big reason Caden Prather came a couple years ago because he recognized that Talia was our quarterback. But this year it's going to be harder to land a guy like that because we just don't have a quarterback. And I do think Kaleb Webb's a good, talented guy with high upside. I also don't know. He definitely has a shot at not living up to it. There's a reason he hasn't played at Tennessee, and there's a reason I don't want to say he's flopped there, but there's not a lot of other words I can say. He's a high-level top 200 recruit. You expect a guy like that to come in and make an impact pretty early, and if not early, then by his second year. So I just think when I look at Kaleb Webb, I think I see a kid that is a good pickup. I think it's a high upside pickup, which I think you need some of these to hit for Maryland football, and I like it. But I also think you have to recognize if you're Maryland football, we're going to have to continue to recruit. We're going to have to continue to get guys. I think we might need another receiver, maybe someone that's more proven, even if they come from not quite program with the same pedigree as Tennessee, but maybe they come from somewhere else. I think you could use someone like that. And I just think the rest of the roster, this is the first portal pickup, and it's a good pickup. I think I like the ceiling, but I still think we got a lot of ways to go with this team and a lot of players to add still. So I do think I like it. I think it's good for Mike Loxley. Start refilling this roster, get the receiving core going a little bit more, but there's still plenty of stuff that we're going to need. But overall, a good pickup for Maryland football. Maryland basketball got a big win last night by a lot of points. Talk about that and some of the storylines of the game. There's some interesting stuff going on over at Maryland basketball. We'll talk about that next. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sports app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get the hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-plays, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. There's so many different things to bet on FanDuel right now, whether it's college football playoffs this weekend. There's some huge playoff games for the first time ever. We have this expanded playoff, and it's really cool. If you want to bet on that, you can do that on FanDuel. The NBA, of course, you can always bet on that on FanDuel. There's almost games every single night now until the end of the season. College basketball, Maryland plays Syracuse on Saturday. If you want to bet on Maryland, the NFL, of course, there's so many different things to bet on FanDuel right now. So that's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Make your holidays bigger and brighter with Prize Picks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on all sports in more than 30 states. Prize Picks now offers a MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. So join now, because this holiday season, Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ billion in rewards during Picks Miss. So sign up today and get 50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to receive the 50 bonus. You don't even have to win. It's guaranteed. So right now, you guys have to go over to Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get 50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get 50 instantly after you play your first $5 line up. Make sure you guys go to Prize Picks. Prize Picks, run your game. So let's talk about Maryland basketball last night, getting a big win over St. Francis in terms of the points, not in terms of exactly just winning a game. Like, it's not a huge win in terms of the program and where we're at, but in terms of our offense and how we're playing right now, we're doing some really good things, and I think we're absolutely headed in the right direction with Maryland basketball. And I think we look good and we look on top of things right now. So we beat St. Francis 57-111. So Maryland has another 100, Bob. When at college basketball with a 40-minute game, it ain't easy to do that. NBA, obviously, they play 60 minutes. It's different. But a 40-minute to 20-minute half game, no matter who you're playing college basketball, your offense has to play well to put up 111. And that's exactly what the Terps did. They played at a really high level. And I saw a Maryland team that offensively is on a different level than we were last year. We couldn't do the things that we do this year, and it's as simple as that. We couldn't do the things. Mainly shooting the ball. That's something that I'm looking at this team, and it's really, really high level shooting the ball for Maryland basketball, especially last night. It's gotten a lot better than where we were last year because I feel like we have guys in our lineup. We have 3 guys in our lineup. I feel really good about shooting the basketball and shooting the 3-point shot. Where in the past, last year, I didn't feel good about it. I thought Jameer Young was probably our best shooter last year, and that's not really what he was as a player. I thought Kaiser had the potential to be a good shooter, but the percentage wasn't there. This year, we legit got 3 guys in the starting lineup that can all shoot the ball. And we saw that. We shot 57.7% from the 3-point line. And the starters, our main guys, they were making shots. Celta Miguel went 4 of 6 from the 3-point line. Jacoby Gillespie went 3 of 6 from the 3-point line. Rodney Rice went 3 of 6 from the 3-point line. They were all above 50%, which is a pretty cool mark for Maryland basketball. And then we can't ignore the bench as well. Gapari went 1 of 3 from the 3-point line. Malachi Palmer hit a 3. Jay Young went 3 for 3 from the 3-point line, and he looks like a pretty solid shooter. All of our starters were in double digits, and this is what I'm talking about. The balance that this team has right now is something that we just didn't have last year. We depended on one player, and this year it's so much more balanced. There's so much more diversity in scoring, and that's going to allow us to win games down the stretch and be a much better team than what we've been. Also, Jordan Geronimo got back in the mix last night and had a good game himself, played 15 minutes, had 7 points, 5 rebounds. So it's good that he's back. He also had his defensive presence with 2 steals and a block. So he definitely looks like he's back to being in the rotation a little bit. We'll see how that goes for the rest of the season. I was kind of up in the air. I didn't know if we needed to play him because of how well Tafari Gapari was playing, but it looks like Jordan Geronimo might be back in the action. Malachi Palmer also played 15 minutes, which was important as well. And so overall, offensively, we took the next level. 24 points from Celta Miguel is pretty nice. Rodney Rice was 16. Queen with a 15. Julian Reese with a double-double. It's a really cool product from Maryland basketball. Now, here's another storyline that's really interesting. That's something that we got to talk about. Deshawn Harris Smith only played 4 minutes, and it was clearly a coach's decision. Kevin Willard said it after. So clearly they're starting to shy away from Deshawn Harris Smith, and he's getting less and less minutes. 4 minutes is definitely – I don't know what the situation is because – this is a game where you probably want to play him a good amount. Like, I feel like when we play Syracuse would be a game where, he only plays 4 minutes. But against a team like St. Francis, everybody played more minutes than him. Literally everybody besides Lucas Sotel. Even Ben Murphy, our walk-on, played more than Deshawn Harris Smith. I don't know if Deshawn was having some type of off-the-court issue. I don't know. I think it comes down to this. Keeping it purely on the court because that's all I know, and that's what I think is actually happening. I just think he's going to continue to lose minutes and that he's not going to play a ton right now because he can't shoot the ball, and it's really tough on the spacing, and it's really tough on the team overall when we have a guard in there that can't really shoot, that can't really score, that can't shoot free throws at a decent level. It's tough to win games like that, and if you can't do those 2 things, it's one thing if you can't shoot the 3-point shot, but if you're not giving us any other offense, it's hard to get you in there. And I think the Maryland staff is starting to say that to Deshawn Harris Smith. And it definitely isn't great for him, but that's just kind of how I see it. And I don't see it really getting better. We'll see what happens. Saturday, Syracuse is going to be a big tell what they do. But I think right now, he might just be losing his spot in the rotation. Edwards to Wisconsin, Roman Hemby projected to Texas Tech. Let's talk about that. It's that time of year. The college football playoff is back, and with newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever. bring you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern, leading into our matchup with the SMU Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch College Football Playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. So it's official now that Billy Edwards has decided to go to Wisconsin, and I honestly really believe it's a better spot for him to go. I didn't think Billy Edwards would benefit from being in the spotlight at Michigan, and there's a spotlight. That Michigan program has a huge spotlight. Everything that went on with them beating Ohio State again, even though they didn't have as good of a year, and their new coach Tre Moore, and them bringing in the number one recruit in the nation and flipping him from LSU and all these different things. Billy Edwards would have been under the spotlight. Michigan don't want to go 7-5 again. They just don't. They don't want to be like a borderline bowl team, and that's not what they're going to be. They're starting to really pick it up in terms of recruiting and some of these different things. And I thought that Billy Edwards going to Michigan didn't make a lot of sense because Bryce Underwood is going to be hoofing him down, and I don't know if he would maintain that job or even win that job in the first place. And I just thought under that spotlight, you face a lot of criticism. And it's not like Maryland criticism. It's not like, oh, if you play bad at Maryland, it's like, yeah, it doesn't compare to what if you play bad at Michigan. It's a national spotlight program. A lot of people care. And I'm not saying a lot of people don't care about the Maryland football program, but there's levels to this stuff. And playing at Michigan and playing there, you're under a spotlight that is just different. And if you're not playing well, Billy Edwards, you're going to feel the pressure. One, Bryce Underwood, one from the media, three from the fans. Those three things you're going to feel pressure from. And so I thought it made sense. I thought Wisconsin still Big Ten. You're going to play the same teams. You're going to have still the same chance to prove yourself. You're going to a program with less expectation. Still a ton of expectations at Wisconsin. They have a tradition of having a good football team, but I just think you're less in the spotlight and you can more be yourself and don't have to worry about the number one recruit, one of the highest rated recruits ever, hawking you down behind you. I think Wisconsin was the better fit for him if he was going to leave Maryland. I just think it made sense, and he's going to be able to start there, do how he does, and then move on. I do think that $1 million at Michigan, I don't know if that was even true or not. If you pass that up, I don't know. But still, I do believe he ended up making the right decision in terms of purely a football choice. Not talking about the money and some of the other stuff because you just really don't know what's going on today with all that different stuff. And now Roman Hemby is leaving, and I saw a projection for him to actually land at Texas Tech football, which is interesting. Definitely an interesting program for him to potentially land. They're in the Liberty Bowl on Friday, actually, December 27th at 7 p.m. So what is that? That's not this Friday. That's 2 Fridays from now. We'll see how that goes at Texas Tech. They definitely have a decent team for sure. Definitely not amazing, but definitely decent, a bowl kind of team. They were 7th in the Big 12 this year, 8-4 overall. There's not really much I can say about Texas Tech football for Roman Hemby. He's not guaranteed to go there at all. I just saw an on-3 prediction that he was probably going there. So we'll see what happens with that. But Billy Edwards was projected by On3 to go to Michigan, and then they had to switch it to Wisconsin. So maybe he doesn't end up going to Texas Tech, but I wanted to let you guys know that that's the latest news on Hemby, is that he's predicted to go to Texas Tech, which is an interesting type of program. It just seems random. And to be frank, to be honest, it feels a bit random. Like Wisconsin made sense for Billy Edwards. I felt like Texas Tech feels random for Roman Hemby, but maybe they're offering NIL. I don't know exactly. Also, one more point I wanted to add in about Edwards. He'll be the first conference game Maryland football plays next year. we'll see how that ends up going. That could be extremely interesting as well. But that's all we have for today. Thank you guys for listening to Locked On Terps. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. We're here talking Maryland football and basketball every single day. So make sure you guys subscribe to Locked On Terps. But thank you for listening to Locked On Terps.